Hi, Strathcona County. It's Rod Frank, your mayor. And interviewing today, having a conversation with Bree Claude. And Bree is with our Family and Community Services. Hi, Bree.
Hi, Mayor.
And you know, Bree and I are probably only separated right now by a few feet, but we're actually exercising good social distancing. We're using technology. So it's one example of how you can do that if your company supports you in that. But Bree is a great example of the outstanding staff that we have in Strathcona County, and they're the reason that we have such high citizen satisfaction rates, and more particularly your department. So I want to start off with the big shout out to FCS. Tell us what FCS is. What does that all stand for, and what do you do?
Oh, well, thank you for that. And I would pass on those kudos to my team. Absolutely. So, Family Community Services, we are the social support side of the municipality. We are about 50% funded by the municipality and 50% funded by a number of provincial grants and contracts. Our biggest grant of support is the Family Community Support Services grant, which basically is about prevention and early intervention so that folks don't end up in a situation of needing more significant social supports. We also do some home support at the lodges, home help in seniors' homes, and just recently heard some good news about becoming a family resource network for children's
Oh,
services
good.
sometime in the future.
Okay. So a lot of people in Strathcona County might not know that we have our own social services department. We might think,
Yeah.
oh, you go to the province for that, or maybe the feds, but that's really
Yeah.
important to know. And how large would your staff be, and what are some of the types of things that you do?
Certainly. So we have about 70 or so staff, full time, and then some other hourly staff as well. And those staff do a variety of things, including running our walk in support. So we have counselors that do walk in counseling in normal times, not today, it's not walk in today. We also have solutions navigators, and solutions navigators are really community social workers that will work with you on whatever challenge you're facing today and help support you to make a plan and get through that challenge. And then we also have something new to us. Formerly, we had the early years navigators focusing on 0 to 6. And with some recent changes in the province, we're now going to be supporting families with children who are 0 to 18 years old, with a stronger focus on families that are really struggling to prevent them from requiring additional, more involved services. So that's the Family Resource Network. And then we also do support for seniors around helping seniors remain in their home longer through a little bit of help in their homes. Some light housekeeping and essentially social support, as well as support in the lodges. And then the other service I would just talk about, which residents don't see as much, but really does impact our community, is the role one of our teams plays around partnership and supporting the social framework leadership table, supporting that policy and the implementation of that policy. And we're really seeing the dividends of those relationships right now, I can tell you, Rod.
Okay, well, I know that's true because I get a lot of positive feedback on the work that Strathcona County FCS does. So you've got a lot on your plate. You have even more on your plate since about the last week because your department is one of the ones in the front line. In fact, I just came from Emergency Operations Committee meeting, and one of your staff has a speaking role because you guys are on the front line. So can you talk about what your department's going through, and then we'll talk about what our community's going through. But what's your department going through?
Yeah, no, certainly. We have made a change in the last week around continuing to provide our critical social services. So that would be any form of social support. We see a lot of folks, unfortunately, that are struggling at really high levels of distress. So folks who are struggling with suicide ideation, perhaps fleeing violence, maybe having concerns that are less intense than that. And so through our counseling and navigation and family resource network, we're now continuing to support those folks over the phone. So anyone in this current circumstance who is finding it challenging, as I think we all are, is able to call, give us a call and receive those same services over the phone. But additionally to that, as you know, Rod, we have a mandate as a municipality to step up in times of emergency. And so, as you and I are talking right now, there's a whole group of people working on our emergency social services plan for the County of Strathcona. And that plan is very much focused on the objective of supporting our most vulnerable folks who don't have those other supports in place to help them get through this time of need. And so there are plans being built right now as we face what we're starting to understand is more of an inevitable trajectory of stress for our community.
Absolutely. So let's just take a moment to thank the staff in FCS who are on the front line, and also, of course, our emergency responders, Chief Hutton,
Yes.
the police,
Yeah.
fire. They're all taking very active role in making sure our community is safe, because that's number one. And that's what I want to talk to you about now, is that people are undergoing a lot of stress right now. We're only about a week into this, and they're having to revector their lives. They're having to find out new activities. They're staying at home more, and that's hard on people. But why are we doing that? Because we have to stop the spread. That's what this is all about. So unfortunately, sometimes our recreation and leisure activities take a back seat to the good of the health of the community. But in fact, I just spoke to a citizen about an hour ago that's really having a hard time dealing with their day being upended. So talk a little bit about what you're hearing from the community and how we're approaching that.
Yeah, I kind of start with just a really deep breath, and this is unreal for most of us. Certainly, our generations have not seen this kind of emergency and challenge, and so it's new territory for all of us. And we do know we're starting to learn a lot of things about it. But on the mental health side, if I could just focus on that, we are in the midst of a traumatic event for all of us. And we know that when that sort of thing happens, we have to be very intentional and thoughtful about how we choose to show up in that. Start to focus on what is it that we can control in this environment in a good way. How can we show up for each other? So one of the things, and I know Volunteer Strathcona is promoting this, and so is our team here, is around, just starting concepts of who's your COVID buddy, which sounds like a terrible title, right? But that's really about making a plan for what we're starting to understand could be our future. So should you and your family become ill and you can't leave your home, who's your buddy who's going to help you out in that circumstance? Maybe drop something off, fill your prescription, leave it at your door, and that you would do the same for them. So it's a little bit of planning that gives us a little sense of more certainty or more control or a little bit of a plan. I think the other thing we keep hearing, Rod, is about what is normal and what can we continue to do. We've got students out of school. We have school boards, amazing school boards in this community who are working really hard to bring that online environment for students. How can we create more routine and normalcy for our kids? I know for me, the first 48 hours when this got real, my kids were as exposed to that media as I was, and I had to stop and realize what I was doing, not just to myself, but also to them. So there's a lot of things to think about, and really just trying to show up as our best selves, because the truth is you don't have the answers and I don't have the answers, but together with really great people with good intentions and good skills, we can figure out the best way forward.
Yeah. And as you point out, it's good to verbalize it. We are going through a traumatic event, and we're going to have to take this day by day a little bit, but the overall picture is we are focused on fighting this pandemic, and together we're going to get through all this. So I really want to give a shout out to Family Community Services and all county staff who are on the front lines there supporting our community. And remember, you can go to strathcona.ca/COVID-19 for all the latest. Have a great afternoon.